Mhm. Oh, and hello. I love seeing guests here right when we enter. So, greetings all. I'm excited for this Monday night. I've actually been anticipating this interview since I met this guy, and I've been like, I gotta get to him on the show. And we just do these drive-by highs and hellos and these meetings where we're trying to be serious and like, I'm trying to be like,
That's right.
I want to joke around, but I'm always trying to impress the dude when I meet him. Because I'm trying to win him over, and so we got him on the show tonight.
Listen, if you were trying to win me over, you just shouldn't be playing me that theme song to begin with. It's like every 1988 cartoon intro. It's awesome.
Yes, it's so much. It brings us back to like the roots of everything, like what got us
Saturday
into
morning.
comics. Saturday mornings, you know what I mean? Back in the old days, everybody used to start the weekend and turn on the TV, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, whatever, Kids WB, whatever it may have been. Fox Kids was my thing for a bit. And hang out with the bowl of cereal and enjoy your weekend with amazing cartoons. And so it looks like you kind of had a similar upbringing for me at that point.
Well, I mean, only in so much as none of those networks were around when I was a child. There were like 6 channels and 3 of them had cartoons on Saturday morning. So there was that. But yeah, almost exact. Otherwise, everything else would just right down to the cereal. Yeah.
It was all Batman, you know what I mean? Super Friends, I guess, at that point.
We had some Super Friends. Yeah, we sure did. Yeah.
So what got you, Adam, you do so much. This is Atom Freeman, everyone introducing here. Sorry, we just
all right
into it. But Adam, you do so much in the comic book community. You have a very long list on your resume of things you have done, things you've dipped in and out of, things you've started. Sure. Tell me about what it is you do and what it is that PRANA Direct Market Solutions does.
Okay. That's a lot. That is a mouthful, and that's not even getting into where I come from, which that is another mouthful. But PRANA Direct Market Solutions it's a company that is designed around 2 principles, right? One, comic shops are a resource that deserve to be defended, right? 2, that the only the quality of the work should limit the distribution, should limit access to independent only owned comics, right? So you should only be limited by the quality of the work. And so we have built really a company around those 2 things and around trying to both educate people about how the industry and business of our the business of our industry works, and around, I don't know, the mechanics of it. We do a lot of consulting, a lot of publisher services. We do distribution aggregation, meaning that we bring a lot of publishers in to get distribution in distributors like Lunar Distribution and Lunar Universal that allows them to get into comic shops. We do crowdfunding. We work with different publishers mostly. We've only ever worked with comics publishers to do crowdfunding campaigns. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my whiteboard here of all the things we're working on. I think it's that. Yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, we're also doing some publishing. We just are about to launch the Comix, the magazine, into shops in March. There's going to be a big announcement about this on Friday that you definitely want to stay tuned for. So that's going to be a magazine about comics in comic shops. And then we also do create a line of content. So we do Comic Industry Insiders, which is a podcast that goes out every Thursday, where I interview people behind the scenes of the comic book industry and try and get to know what it is that they know that you can bring to your business or career in comics. We do a newsletter that has the only, well, I want to say the only accurate, but the largest cohort of retailer POS data. So we're able to share actual sales data of what's happening in the stores. We just relaunched that this week in our newsletter. And then we do a weekly live show on Tuesdays called Comic Industry Insiders Live, where we run down the big headlines of the week and then get into some classes. We teach what we call Comix MBA, which is a line of classes where our experts kind of teach you different things. We talked about comics metadata and sales and all of that stuff that we do on that. Well, is that everything? Feels like it's everything.
That's pretty solid. That covers most of what's on my list to my left as well. So. Well, no, let's like kind of encapsulate some of that. So
Sure.
a lot of people hear that, we mainly just, handle with Comix Wellspring, a lot of independent creators, a lot of smaller publishers, individual businesses at that point. What does PRANA, when people hear shops, they immediately think of the bigger publishers. They're thinking of Marvel, they're thinking of DC, Dark Horse, Omni, all that type of stuff. So
Sure.
what does PRANA do specifically to have our audience know, like, what do you do for the smaller guys, like our independent guys? Like, what level publisher are you
Sure.
looking at when you work with them and whatnot?
Well, to bring them into our publisher or kind of aggregation, actually, we're trying to find a better name for this because unlike other, say, listing services that would get you distribution, we really focus in on clients that we know we can help also promote, right? Promotion and marketing. So we have a line of these right now. I'm trying to think of what we've already announced. SourcePoint is probably the biggest one that we've done. We are their conduit to distribution. So we do, so we essentially take their books, their line of products through Lunar and then now Universal starting after the first of the year. What else have we announced? I think that might be it. We have an entire suite of publishers that we're already set up with that we're going to be announcing over the coming months. But some of them are as small as we have one is a publisher who discovered us, rather. I won't say we discovered, but that discovered us, who created a line of comics that they only do on Kickstarter. And they've essentially built from Kickstarter. And they have these incredible list of fans, and they do really fantastic work, and we're helping them kind of level up their product and then bring them to market. We have a service where the future is. This is actually trade paperback, not in stores yet. I just got my comp in. This came from Recca Comics. This was a cybersecurity firm, people who do like penetration testing and stuff for big companies, and they wanted to start a line of comics. So we helped them do that. We helped them create a new publisher. And then who else we have? We have a video game company that's coming up. We've got we have another line of comics, line of books that's a lot like SourcePoint that's going to come out through us. I don't know, all sizes basically. Yeah. Like I said, I really do believe that it should only be the quality of the work that is the barrier of entry. And if the quality of the work is there, if the product is sellable, you should be able to get distribution. You should be able to get sales. That's really where we come from.
Like, what level do you think it takes for a publisher to actually hit that distribution network and model? When do you feel like someone is ready to actually propel into that realm? Because I feel a lot of smaller publishers aren't ready for that yet. But then it depends on the speed of your team and what you have released. Like, how much do you guys try to build up? What do you think is what's good advice for people who are looking for distribution, if they're ready or not?
Well, so my general advice for any creative company, any creative person, is you should really only be focused on two things: the quality of the work, right? So how good is this in comparison to everyone else, right? Is this going to stand up on the shelves? Is it going to sell? If it's given the same platform as any other publisher, is it going to stand out? Is it going to sell? Then it actually deserves some distribution. Have you built up an audience, right? So it's the quality of the work and the audience. If you build up an audience of, 10,000 people that are showing up for your work, you're going to be in. I would say that if I were just starting off, until I had 1,000 people on a mailing list at minimum, or no, I don't even think the following is it. I think it really is about your mailing list, and it's about what kind of engagement you get when you're out in public? Are you getting questions? Are you getting answer? Are people engaging with your content? That's really it. Or it is your mailing list. Those are the things. Those are really the metrics that I look at for somebody. And it's just that it's quality of the work and the audience.
And
That's
so,
it.
like, not even like social media is like even a factor that seems to play into this. It's email list seems way more important to capture
100%.
attention.
100%. Because email lists are they are self um you can gauge engagement with an email list. People will unsubscribe to an email list. They will or will not open if you send them a message, right? Email lists are a much better indicator of an audience size than social media following, because following now, your follower count is kind of ego, right? What matters is engagement. Right? You can have a follower list of 10, but have a viral, every video you put out goes viral, and that, they can see tens of millions. So it's not really follower count anymore. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a nice metric if you're selling, if you're trying to pitch yourself, but yeah, it really is about that. Anytime you're at a convention, I always tell people that your goal is two things. It is to pitch over and over and over again, to see what sells, see what closes, and to get email addresses. And that's it, right? It's not even about making a profit at the convention. It's about those two things.
Well, that's interesting too, especially pitching. I've always encouraged people to find the proper way to pitch their books and A/B test it. Like if you A/B test your pitch and just try to nail it down, like
Yeah.
and getting it down like in a sentence, that's the best
Yeah.
thing possible. Teenage Babylon, cosmic punk rock love story. It's just like that's all you need to know. And if you're not invested in those three things, you're not going to be invested in that story. It's you got to get it
Yeah.
out there and find that hook for them.
And if you do like 10,000 pitches, you're going to know when people's eyebrows go up.
Yeah.
And you're going to know when they lean in, and they're going to know what line actually make closes, because you'll have closed enough times and you'll have done the reps enough. But without doing it, man, you won't be ready when the time comes to pitch for something big, right? We all, so many creators want that big Hollywood moment or the video game or the toy line or whatever. But if you're not ready to pitch when that time comes, it won't matter. It won't matter if you got the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, honestly, I didn't, thinking broader terms, opportunity wise, you are just going to strike out. You can't fumble your words. People don't have time for that. And they're just going to remember your fumble more than the pitch at that
100%.
point.
And you have to learn to be, learn to be human and talk and, be those things that you don't get there until you've done it so many times that you're just comfortable with it. It just trips off your tongue. Right.
And so that's a good point too. Doing it over and over again and it taking time, like some of these things, I feel like I see a lot of younger creators like this. And I feel like everyone hits like this when they're younger too, is that they're trying, and they hit a wall and they feel like they haven't made any progress, when it's just like, you got to just be patient and let it grow. Like this is a long man's game. Like this is not an overnight success. I mean, Apollo's been around for 3 years now. We're like hitting metrics. We're making dents and stuff and getting attention and creating a really strong fan base now. But we're not at the level I even feel like we're ready for distribution at all. Like I don't think we're in that realm to even enter yet. We have a couple years ahead of us before we actually jump into that. And having completed stories.
So much of it is about relationship, right? It's about trust, and it's about building that relationship. Like you are building a relationship with the audience just the same as you're building a relationship with your creative team and with your printer and your distributor, and all of those relationships take time to build the trust that is needed in order to grow. So yeah, you can never, there's no fast track for that. It doesn't scale like we all want, to like hyper scale. No, it's not about that. It's about growing and being trusted and trusting and, knowing who to call when things go wrong, and knowing how to keep that thing from going wrong again. That's why you need to work with people who know what they're doing. Yeah.
And going back to your email list thing, so do you recommend like everyone should have a MailChimp, or is like a Substack even just equivalent to an email? And that's what I'm seeing more of now is Substack subscribers versus an email list.
I'll be honest. I don't have a Substack. I've never actually signed up for a Substack. I mean, I've subscribed to people who have Substack, but I've never actually paid for one. So I don't know that I'm a good answer for that. What I will tell you is that unless you can take the list that you have there somewhere else, it's not your list.
Okay, cool.
Right.
That's the main
And the
factor.
same for your, your social media following. Right. If Twitter can become X and now your list of followers is useless, then you never had it to begin with. It wasn't yours, right? So that's why I still like email lists. That's why I still like MailChimp, or we have a new one that we just started with. It's actually a much better deal than MailChimp, but there are other, there are plenty of other. Aweber actually does a really nice low fee service. It's not nearly as flashy as MailChimp, but there are opportunities for a mailing list. But yeah, I personally just don't ever want to hand that asset over to some new tech company that is likely to change their mind when their shareholders need something new from them.
Interesting. No, yeah, that makes sense. I believe you could export your mailing list from Substack.
Well, I hope so.
I'm not
Yeah.
too sure. I got to look back into it. I haven't used mine since like May. I got to jump back on that. Really bad pattern on that. But it's one of those things of balancing a lot, and that's where I'm at. I'm figuring out how to find the
Sure.
balance between publishing, writing, now drawing and doing all this stuff, running
Right.
Apollo, doing what we do for CWS. And so balancing multiple things is difficult. Luckily, I have undiagnosed ADHD, which helps me out.
Hard saying,
And that's exactly where I was going. You do a lot, and I feel like you're the same way. And when we talk about all the projects we're involved with and what we do, you are very similar to me in that sense of like, oh, it's a list. I got to get a scroll out and to try to explain. But how do you keep up with everything you do on a daily? Like, I know you have an amazing assistant, Megan. Shout out to her. She rules.
Yeah.
But in general, there's a lot to keep in that brain of yours to keep track of.
Well, a part of it is that my brain doesn't function when it's only has one thing to focus on. Like it just gets real stubborn and says no. So I really do need to have a mix of things, and I'm just very curious in how things work, and I always want to understand everything a little better. When I started Prana, somebody asked me, what we were going to try to do, and I said, I feel like I just want a company that is incentivized for the whole industry to grow, and I want to be one of the few people who sees the whole board, right? Who understands publishing, but also printing and distribution and retail and all of the little steps that happen in between there. And so it's just because of that curiosity that I can't really get myself to like pigeonhole real well. But what I can say, how do I do it? I work with an amazing team. Nearly all of them, I think nearly all of them have other stuff they do on the side as well, and some of them even have day jobs. I always look for somebody who is in on the idea of what we do, who is good at what I need, right? And so I'm always looking for partners, people who I can bring along, who can come along with me. And if you understand crowdfunding better than I do, and you are capable of organizing multiple campaigns, then we're interested in working with you, because I need to learn from you, and hopefully you'll learn from us, right? And hopefully the entire system works together so that when we're bringing somebody's crowdfunding campaign along, they are able to get value from everything else we do. The same for people who are going into the direct market, the same for people going into the book market, same for people who are, working direct to consumer, all those things. We want it to all work together. And I think so long as it works together, it works. But like I can tell you, it is you do have to stay very organized. Today is Monday. So on Mondays, I go through and we have a company Discord that we work from. And each of our projects and each of our clients has a different thread. And I just go through and check each of the boxes. And all right, where are we in this? Where are we in this? What's the status here? And I just try and touch everything all in one day. And then the rest of the days through the week are really about, each has their own individual focus. So tomorrow, Tuesday, is we do our live show, and I also try and focus in on the rest of the content that we do. Wednesday, I really try and focus on where, who are the new clients, the new partnerships that want to come in. Where are we in that status? Because there's always, every time you bring somebody in, there's always paperwork and contracts and all that. You got to figure that day. Mondays also I do accounting and make sure all the bills are paid. Then Thursday generally comes back around to content, right? We do a little bit of that, but I'm also at that point, there's usually some sort of project for one of our current clients that really needs some focused attention. And then Friday's basically just clean up. Anything that didn't get done that absolutely must get done this week gets there. And that's also when I get our newsletters out, but I'm doing my best to try and remove myself as a bottleneck from those things. Other than that, I just don't. I don't have a lot of hobbies.
Comics are the hobby at that point.
This is it, right? The comics industry is the hobby.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even really get a chance to read comics much anymore because this is just what I do. I have this and I have a family and maintain a house and, all the things. So, yeah.
Oh, makes sense. It's crazy when you get involved with the industry and with just everything, how you kind of like lose parts of what got you into it all in general, like the reading. It's been hard for me to read this entire year, and that's why I started that new segment, Cats, Comics, and Coffee, so I could read indie books I'm getting, and it's not going to waste, and I make content out of it. But making time for the pleasures, I feel like it's difficult, especially when you enjoy what you do at that point.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Blake's Buzz is just in the comments is saying that no one who works at comics gets to read them anymore. That's just it, right? To do this well, it really has to take up all of that bandwidth that you used to give over to reading other people's work. Now, that said, I read a whole lot of comics. I have to read everything that we publish, and I have to look at the work that we're publishing and distributing. And I have to, anytime, once a week, I go to the comic shop and I try and pick up anything that's new. Right. So I try and understand whatever the new line is. We were just talking about Absolute Martian Manhunter. I loved the first issue, and that usually would have been enough. I would have said, here, subscribe me. I'm going to read them all. I know I loved it. There you go. It's done. I have to move on because there's going to be something new next week. So yeah. That's really it. You can't really stay in the same place. Although I know plenty of people who do. And they usually are pretty myopic about what it is that what part of the overall thing they are, right? They're a retailer who just reads all these books and then can talk about them. Or they're, editors. I've known plenty of editors who do a really good job at keeping up on everybody, but even they are like looking at, who is the letterer that I can poach, or, who, like, at this style, this person's style that's changing. So, yeah.
So,
it's always...
A lot of us, we end up growing up and loving comics and these things and, all these universes and whatnot. And we're like, I want to be in comics. I want to make comics. That's typically like 99% the way people go. And they don't realize that there's other parts of the industry you could expand into.
Oh, yeah.
And you have really found those like notches. And even when me falling into CWS, I was like, I would have never expected to work at a printing company. I was trying to write comics and become, Grant Morrison and shit, which isn't going to happen, but I'm still writing comics, but it's now I'm involved with all these aspects of the industry. And you realize that there's so much more than just writing and drawing comics. So when did you realize your passion wasn't in creating comics, but it's within the business of comics? And why didn't you create comics?
Well, I mean, I've written some scripts. I wrote, actually, it's funny, my comics writing and my prose writing kind of had the same sort of path where I tried it and I felt like I understood why I wasn't good. And, most people who love it, when they figure out why they're not good, they get better. I think in both of those instances, I said, oh, I know why I'm not good, and it's going to take me too long to get better. Right. And so I just said, I go do something else, I guess. Whatever it is, you get your attention is what you're going to get good at. And so for me, I was a retailer. I got a job working in a comic shop. and eventually bought that shop. And then we won the 2008 Eisner Spirit of Retail Award. And that was also the same year that there was a financial crash. So, so not only did I now had an Eisner, but I also had to go get a job. And 2 years later, I ended up working in publishing, and have just honestly, every step has been about the fact that my curiosity led me to understanding whatever the next step needed to be. Right. So like when I was a retailer, I really wanted to get to know other retailers and understand what it was they want. So I was really social. I mean, we just had started getting online message boards for retailers back then. And and that's how I got to know everybody and understand it. And then I started understanding how the mechanics of publishing worked, because I didn't understand why they wouldn't just fix this thing that was obviously broken. But the truth of the matter is it was broken because some things can't be fixed. Some things can be fixed, but you choose not to fix them, and you have to fix this other thing. And so it was beginning to understand those things, and that led to work in publishing, and then that got me more work in publishing. And then once I was there, I eventually got to a place where I was just really, really good at the sales and marketing side. And then, I don't know. Then it was just about like, how do I set myself up for my brain, right? How do I set up a company that fits how I want to understand everything? And that's how we got here, right? It was just that ability to always go, yeah, I could do that, So yeah.
Just being
I don't know
open
if I
to
answered that question.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, just finding your skills within skills at that point, using everything as a step and
yeah,
not like a final destination either.
yeah. And that's just it. Now, I mean, I know enough writers, and I know enough successful writers, and I'm friendly with them. I've been in their homes and been in their offices and their studios. And so I think I have an understanding of what it takes to be what I wanted to be back then. And now I realize that for the amount of effort I would have to put in, I could actually grow something that brings up a lot of people, as opposed to just, building my own personal brand. And so that's kind of what we've done at Prana, is really kind of build an umbrella that a lot of people can come in under, as opposed to, building up this like entire facade around my own ego. Not that that's who our writers are, but that's what it would feel like to me.
I mean, the Adam Freeman show has a great ring to it as well. You know what I mean? This
No, thank you. No, I'm good. When we started the podcast, that was an early pitch, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't necessarily need this to be about me. And I've done everything I can to get somebody else to do the interviews, but nobody else seems to want to do them as much as I do them. So yeah.
there you go. I mean, that's one of those things. It seems like you found what you've been doing is just finding everyone that will line up into what you could delegate. Like it sounds like
Yeah.
you have everything that you want. You don't have the bandwidth, but you know what can be accomplished. So you're really good at looks like overseeing all these little faucets and making sure they're running smoothly, giving advice where you can, but also learning along the way. It doesn't sound like you've ever stopped and said, no, this is the way it is. And this is the way it is. And I think that's what stopped the comic book industry in so many other
Yeah.
different faucets, is being like, we can't get just set in a way. It's an ongoing, evolving, weird algorithm of a industry at that point. Nothing is set in stone with comics.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there is no, because even if I asked you what's the best way to do, anything you do, it's changed over the last 5 years, I'm sure.
Well, I think some of that is just living in the day and age that we live, right? I think that there was, if you look back over the last, say, 150 years, post industrial revolution, there were periods where you could get a job, right, as a pipe fitter, and just be, that was what you do. You would fit pipes, and then you would, it'd get to the end of your career, and somebody would give you a retirement package, and then you would go to Florida, right? That's how it worked. In this day and age, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, I'm sure that there are some pipe fitters that are, probably into a 30 or 40-year career who are cursing. I don't know why they would be watching the show, but whatever.
It'd be pretty cool if they were, though. Like,
Yeah, well, that'd be great. Yeah, if you're a 40-year pipe fitter veteran and you're
making comics,
there's nothing to chat. So anyway, all this to say, I think that we are, all of us, learning in real time. And I think if there's a difference in the people that I have known who have been successful are the ones who are interested in how things are changing, not in how they are. Right. I think that that's it's just key to success. It's key to survival. Right. I don't think you get to settle, especially right now. We're living in a really disruptive age that, like, the next 10, 15 years are going to look completely different than they do today. And comics will not be immune to that. I do think that comics lives in its own little weird reality. It's like a little pocket universe where the rules of the rest of the world don't entirely one-to-one apply to us, right? The direct market comic shops have had the store count hasn't really changed, plus or minus 4 or 5% in like 20 years. There was a weird little disruption, weird little bump at the beginning of COVID, but then it came right back up. And now we're seeing growth that, like, we've never seen before in the store count. Never seen before, but not seen since, I don't know, since I started working in comics in the 90s, right? But that doesn't make any sense. Why should brick and mortar stores be doing so well? You don't see more pet stores. You don't see more bookstores. I mean, more than what there were for a while there, but like the brick and mortar, independently owned brick and mortar, doesn't really exist outside of comic shops and game stores anymore, right? There are gift stores in certain places, but even they kind of fluctuate rapidly. So why is it that work? Because we have our own little pocket universe. We've created something that once you get hooked, you come back every week. And that doesn't exist. I mean, you don't get a haircut every week. The only other places that exists in, like, mom and pop businesses tend to be services. You might go back on a regular basis to get your nails done or your hair done, or you may go back to learn karate or yoga or whatever, right? That will bring you back to a storefront. But otherwise, retail doesn't generally do that. We created our own little pocket universe where the rules of the universe, the rest of the universe around us, don't apply, but they still shift in an ongoing and dynamic way. And the outside world affects them, but not in the same way that it affects others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is part of why it's so much fun to just constantly be learning, to constantly be digging deeper and trying to understand more. Yeah.
And I think that understanding goes so deep, and it makes sense why you thrive off of, watching the last few videos you've been doing. It's all about data, like collecting data,
sure.
analyzing that data. And it's interesting you say that we have a higher percentage of people going into shops right now, while we also have like the highest and most accessible digital comic platforms ever around right now too.
Yeah.
Where do you think that balance comes into play? Or is it just a drive for physical media again that we're all kind of reapproaching?
I think that there's, there's a lot going on. So the stores are seeing a 20% increase over last year. Not every store. We've actually had publicly a couple of stores that are saying, I'm not doing well. But they tend to be very specific types of stores that were designed for a very specific type of environment. But generally speaking, comic shops are 20% over last year. How is that possible? Right? We're in what could be economic collapse nearly, right? And we're all real nervous about what's next. Economically, tariffs should be killing retail. And yet, there are a number of factors here that make direct market stores so different. One is you have a weekly audience, and it's a weekly audience that's coming in for the personalities, for the people that are in that shop. They're coming in for the relationship they have with that shop. When a shop goes away, when a store closes, if you're on a publishing level, you would think that all of those sales that you had going into that store are now going to be adopted by all the stores around them, right? You would think that, but that's not the case. You tend to lose somewhere between 40 and 60% of the sales in that area. Why? Because for that 40 to 60%, for half of those people, they were fans of the shop more than they were your product, right? Well, that's real tough to take if you're a publisher, but it's the truth. It's just, it means that the stores are really truly partners with you in creating this conduit of product. So that's number one, is the stores themselves are just dynamic places. They're these community centers. And that's going to be really important for us in a world where everything is becoming more and more synthetic, right? AI gets much smarter, so our entertainment gets more synthetic. It gets our interactions with businesses are going to get more synthetic. Right now, it's almost impossible to get some person on the phone if you're calling, a company and have a problem. That's not the case. And if you go into a comic shop, you're going to deal with a person. And if you can get them on the phone, many of them don't have phones anymore, but if you can get them on the phone, you're going to deal with a person. And that's frustrating. And that's really hard sometimes, but it's still something that we crave, right? So there's those two things. And I think the third one is just this idea of collecting items. We want this physical tactile feeling. Unlike books before us and records, and music rather, and movies, for some reason, comics are still very physical and tactile for us, right? If I ask you what a comic book smells like, you can tell me. But if I ask you what a movie smells like, you have no idea, right? If I ask, what does it feel like to hold music, you might think about holding vinyl.
Yeah.
But that requires another item, another object for you to play it on. You need a record. And right now, vinyl sales through the roof because people are buying vinyl. People who don't even have turntables are buying vinyl because they want some physical representation of the music. Comics are like that. They're a physical representation of this medium, but they're also they are the device with which you interact with the medium. So it ends up being both. And I think that there's just something magical about comics that goes beyond all of those other media that requires us to work with each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's the funnest thing about it. I grew up as a musician, so it's kind of interesting thinking about what it took for me to play a show, to record something, to even listen to a demo or whatever, and put on an album, like you said. I mean, how's your sound quality? How are your speakers? How is your setup? Is it going to sound different in the car versus in my home stereo? But with a comic, it's a universal. I just need a little bit of light, and I can enjoy it just as much as anybody else can in my own time and pacing and pleasure at that point. So it's a way more intimate form of a craft than anything else.
Music is about timing, right? And movies are about timing, and so is TV. All of these things, they don't need you, right? They don't need you as the audience member to engage at all. They just need you to be open to what they're feeding, right? You can go to a concert and just stand in the back and you get the same experience as somebody who's up front, thrashing about. Comics is different, right? You are part of that storytelling. You become as much involved in it as anyone, and you create the speed with which the story is unfolded. Even books have a very linear path, whereas comics, you open the page and where your eye goes is what decides how you're experiencing it. And you could decide to go up and to the left and just refuse to look at anything until you get to the bottom of the page. Probably not. You're probably going to take in the page first. Like that's, I don't know, it's unique. There's something about it that just doesn't translate everywhere.
And we were even saying like there's not a lot of, even when it comes to formatting for scripts, for how a Kickstarter is done. When you look at the film industry, it is all we have a map for this. We have it
Yes.
to the you have to have your script to a T in this format, or else we won't
Mhm,
even look at it.
mhm.
Connections are different, how people help each other are different. It's a much more doggy world at that
Sure.
point in film
Yeah.
versus what we have, which is it seems like comics are so much more of an opportunity and it provides more opportunities and it's easier. I mean, conversations like this, engagement with this, like what you're doing with Comics the magazine, you're making things accessible. And I think, especially with Comics Wellspring, with our print on demand and everything we're doing, we're all about accessibility. How do you make
Yeah.
comics accessible to everybody? Because it's the one medium nearly anyone can do, honestly, with just a bit of
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah. Honestly, anybody with a pencil can tell a story with 2 images, right? That's just it. We all have the ability, and then anybody who can look at those 2 images, you don't even have to speak the same language, right? You're going to be able to understand that narrative if you are, if you understand just even the basics of comics, which is um not nearly as easy as we often hope it is, right? Not everybody can pick up a comic and understand how to read it. But I think that is also changing. That's going to be a generational shift. And also another piece of it is, even though we have this weird economic downturn that's happening right now everywhere else, we also have the dogman generation of kids, these kids that grew up being handed comics by this Scholastic book fair,
Yeah.
and they are getting jobs for the first time. They have disposable income for the first time. And so they're coming into comic shops for the first time. So we see this whole generation of people who are coming in, and then Marvel and DC are doing incredible work. DC, especially with their Ultimate and the Absolute lines of essentially giving you your Batman,
Yeah.
right? I had my Batman. Now it's time for yours.
Mhm.
So, everything seems to be lining up in from an industry standpoint, and the tools are there. There's no gatekeepers anymore, right? You just really do have to. You are limited by your own ability, and you're limited by your own ability to connect. And if you can do the 10,000 hours and generate and create that ability and create that connection, there's nothing stopping you from getting access to this industry now. Not in the way was when I came up. At the time I came up, you had to convince somebody to let you in. Now you just make your own, you know?
And I feel some people still have that mindset where they have to work towards these publishers and work
Yeah.
towards Marvel, DC, and if not, they're not making comics or doing anything. I think it's so weird because I feel like indie comics are the rawest form of art you could get possible. Like
Yeah.
it's true from the artist, from the writer, their best of their ability, spitting something out. And as much as I read Marvel, I read DC. I love them. I grew up with them, but it's like
Sure.
create your own thing, and that's where
Yeah.
you're going to make an impact, and that's how you also get picked up by those guys. People forget you got to make your own series. You got to show that you're reliable, that you could pull through, that you could produce quality art, that you're growing, and they won't see that if you're just drawing to draw for them in that sense.
Well, I will say that there's also, I think people just get real comfortable with the idea that someone is holding me back, right? It's a really great excuse.
Yeah.
Someone is holding me back. Not I need to work on my work, not I need to grow my audience, right? Not I need to hire a production designer so that my book looks like it's something that can be sold. Not I probably should just hire a letterer so that I'm not, cheaping out and not able to tell the story. Like, not those things. This person is holding me back. There's a there's a distributor who I won't mention who likes to. I mean, I essentially said I don't understand how this model works when they came out. I said I don't know that I would do this. And then when anybody asked me later, I said, look, I just don't. There's no way this works. There's no way
Mhm.
this model works. The numbers don't add up. But I'm never going to tell somebody to not do it. Apparently my critiquing that has given them the opportunity to make me the villain for their lack of success. Not that I warned everybody that this thing is not going to work. and it didn't work. But because of I warned them, it doesn't work. Apparently, I don't understand it. Anyway, all of this to say, I was contacted by this creator who basically was blaming me for his failure. And
Interesting.
I don't understand the idea of needing a villain. Why
Mhm.
do you need a villain? Why isn't it just I'm going to understand this better than that guy does, and I'm going to do it differently? How is that? I don't get it. But people need a villain. They do.
And, especially I happen to know what post you're talking about. Especially in the situation, it's like, look at who's speaking in the experience. That's another big thing to take into play when you're looking, especially at this industry. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten advice from people who've been here for 6 months, for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, for 40 years, for 60. And it
I'm only at
ranges.
32. So,
Only at 32.
I'm not 40 or
I
50 or
know.
60.
Alright, so I'm gonna lower
Yeah.
that back down. No, I'm kidding. It's one of those things where it's like, listen to who's been involved and look at what they've done. And, it's just them voicing an opinion. Like,
Yeah.
I I don't think there's anyone to blame for, like, any failures. I've messed up a lot this year with Apollo financially and some other mistakes, but it's like marketing and whatnot. But it's like that should all be lessons. Take them as something like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I failed." I mean, we've messed up. Like, there's some creators we lost this year. We lost a title, all sorts of stuff that happened to us. But it's like, man,
Sure.
that sucked. But okay, now we know this is the process for this now. Now we know we're gonna watch out for this. We experimented with that. It didn't quite work out like we hoped. All right, we got to move on. It's a long man's game full of
Yeah.
like twists and turns, and like you're not always going to wind up on top. But the people who do wind up on top went through all that and found a way to overcome it and didn't blame everybody. You got to take accountability. You're the one making the choice to do whatever. Like
Right.
it's
Exactly.
it's
And if
one of those.
somebody is giving you, if you're asking for someone's opinion on something and they give it to you and you don't like it, right? I mean, now you're the one that asked,
Yeah,
right?
it's a big enough industry. You could go somewhere else too.
Go find
Like,
somebody else, right? Yeah. If you listen, I'm going to tell you right this second. If you have made a quality product and you have built an audience that you're taking with you, there is legitimately no gatekeeper.
right.
There is 100% no gatekeeper. There is only your ability to find new audiences, communicate and connect with those audiences. And that's it. That is everything. That is the whole game. And once you have built a quality product that someone else can sell, someone else can get behind, and you've built an audience that you can bring with you to a new market, there is no stopping that person from distribution. That
Mhm.
just doesn't exist, right? There is nobody who has an audience and has a quality work that can't get distribution. There are just too many options.
Yeah. Especially now. Like, I can think of 5 off the top of my head if you just even if you
100%.
Google searched it, like,
And
or you
that's
can do it on your
just
own.
if you want to sell it wholesale.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%.
It's
You want to
it's,
sell it
uh
retail, it's dozens of options, Yeah. Anyway.
it's crazy because like, independent comics have now like, you if you don't go with the publisher, you could then just do anything and everything. Like,
Yeah.
there's no I mean, short story kind of wrap that part of it's like, everything that they're doing, you can do. You just have to put the time in. You just have to, like you said, network. And you mentioned that a few times in this conversation already, when you're talking about main points, is to connect.
Yes.
Connecting and finding your audience, it seems like those are the 2 pinnacle points. And honestly, I'm a product of that example. Like, I met the right person, and then Mark Bernal, who got me to Baltimore Comic Con, who
Oh,
introduced me
yeah.
to Dan Hills, and then Dan Hills and I connected, and now I work for CWS for my day job. Like, it's just it didn't happen. I'm from El Paso, Texas, a tiny little dirt town in the corner of nothing. Like stuff like that. Just like it doesn't happen to someone because they're like a nepoed in or whatever. It's like connect in. Like, just go and talk to people. And if it's
Yeah.
hard for you, team up and find someone to talk. Like, that's another thing. Like, it doesn't have to be you, but find someone who believes in your vision enough to help you kind of guide that and grow it.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. It's been so what you see all these aspects of the industry and from crowdfunding, from independence to larger scale stuff. What do you think are some opportunities that are in comics right now? I won't say anything like, what's bad stuff going on that you think can be better, but like what are good opportunities that are not being addressed or
Sure.
not being fixed right now that you feel like need some attention in some scope?
I will tell you that I've been singing this song for just over a year now. Back in October of 2024, I saw where Diamond was going, and I saw that working with some printers was occasionally a challenge. And at that
It's a press.
time, there's a crew called not TWS. There's a crew that Andy Schmidt started called Comix Experience. And on his Discord, I wrote a little essay that was entitled, "Now is the time for coalition building." Right? Now is the time to gather people who are like you, who are on the same journey. Now is the time to band together. And I don't care if you call yourself a publisher or an artist collective or, just like-minded individuals, but if you are able to come with a crew of people that are on your level, your opportunities are going to open up for you much greater. If CWS, you guys do a lot of digital printing, but like when you are doing like say offset or web printing, right? Oftentimes you will get better deals if you can do gang printing, right? We want to do I want to do one printing of 1,000 copies, but here's 10 people each doing 1,000 copies, and we all have agreed to the same size and the same format and the same print quality. So just do all 10 of us together at the same time, right? Dramatically will lower your pricing.
Yep.
If you have 10 right now, the biggest limiter for distributors, it is, don't get me wrong, real estate is bad, right? So the amount of square footage they have in a warehouse in order to bring your product in and then ship it back out it is hard, but that's not the biggest limiter. The biggest limiter is the bandwidth of their staff, the bandwidth of their employees. And so you could come to them with 10 publishers and put them under the same line. Essentially what I've done with Prana publishers, right, is just go to them and say, here are 10 titles that are all going to come out this year. You only have to deal with me. I'm going to be the only one who handles the metadata. I'm going to be the only one who you have to pay. I will split the payments up. I'm going to be the only, you only have to deal with me. I'll deal with these other 9 goofballs. You only have to deal with me, right? Anybody in this industry could pull that off, right this second. There are plenty of people like freelancers who, if you can guarantee them more work, will give you a better deal. Right? I mentioned letterers and production designers. Those are the two. When I talk to people who want to sell comics, sell the comics they make, the two people I say over and over again that you need to know are your production designer, who can make it look like a quality product that's going to sell, and a letterer, right? And you think you understand lettering, but you do not.
Oh, no,
you do not. I'm just going to let it, unless you have gone through and you've done it. The chances of you being any good at it are slim to none.
Yeah, hands down. It's way harder than people think. Like it's a skill you can learn, but it is a very specific skill too. Like,
and it is crucial.
Yes,
it's like I keep likening it to the sound in an indie film, right? If that indie film is lit by a 40-watt bulb and you can barely see anybody, if the sound is great, nobody cares. It's still watchable. It's moody.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's lit like it's a Rembrandt painting and it's incredibly gorgeous, but it was, it was done by somebody's iPhone, the sound came out. It doesn't matter. It's unwatchable. Right.
There's that air, that hiss throughout it all. You're just like, I'm not doing this.
No. Yeah. If you're listening to somebody's air conditioner, like that's what I mean, is that those two things, you get those dialed in and you can make a decent product into a sellable product, right? Those people have to make their living based on volume, based on consistency. So if you said to a letterer, hey, I have 10 books. Each we're going to do like 3 or 4 issues at 30 this year. What's my page rate? Each one is 20 to 25 pages. You get a better deal from that letterer than if you had just said, "Hey, can you help me out with this one book?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? Same for the production designer. So what I'm saying is that now is the time for coalition building. If you go to a convention, right, and you say, "I want a block of booth space," right? One of my favorite, there's a group of guys at Baltimore Comic Con, always take a 10 by 20, and there's 4 of them, and they each have their same section, but they've gotten themselves on an island.
Oh yeah.
For less
Who is it? Who are your buddies there? I want to know if I remember.
Dean
Oh,
Haspiel and Chris
Chris.
Miscavige,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
yeah, those
Chris is
guys,
my boy. I love Chris.
right? They always do that little section there, and
Mm-hmm.
and they can each leave for a while, and the other guy watches your booth, whatever. But they couldn't do that on their own. People that the people who are doing it on their own have to put "I'll be back in an hour" signs, or and they had to pay the whole rate. They don't get
Yeah.
to easily split it. So what I'm saying is now, and I'm going to keep saying it, now is the time for coalition building. Don't go into this alone. And you got to learn to get along with people. You got to learn to work with a team. In the same way that, I talk about Prana, we do all of this stuff. There's a limit to what I can do in a day.
Yeah.
Right? There's a limit
It's a
to
hard
what
fact to learn too. Like I'm learning that right now. I'm realizing I can't my Monday list. I'm just like, that's my week list. I can't do all this like in one day. Like I thought, like
I tell you, the secret to any real success is realizing you could do 2, maybe 3 things on your list today, and that's it.
Yep.
So you better pick the right 2 or 3.
That's
But
no, it's great advice. It's very true. Like
but if you pick, you work with 5 or 6 people, suddenly your 2 or 3 becomes 10 or 15 or 20,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And so like all of this to say, it's once again, it's communication and connection. Build your team, build your coalition, build your people who are on the same path as you, and you're gonna get there. Your cohort will get you there faster than your own charm will.
Hands down.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to hear. One, because it let me know I was doing things right. I got Max Flowers to be my designer right off the bat, which is why Apollo
Yeah.
stuff looks good and Eric
Yeah.
Allred. But also CWS is working on a cohort ordering system right now to introduce different qualities, different types, and so like we're doing these test things right now with creators to be like, and finding the platform so we could host this where creators could all, oh, I have 10 copies, he's getting 12, and
Right.
then it's going to build up and you're going to see that price decrease. And so
Yeah.
there's things where we have in the works to make printing even better and more accessible. Of course, our print of a body of one and whatnot is going to be great.
Sure.
But like that cohort model to save money, to get prices, to connect with the community. When we launch our Discord, that's going to be another and a new show called The Print Shop, which launches in
Yeah.
a week. Yes, yeah, I'll be announcing that this coming week. Yeah, it's gonna be me, Dan Hills, and Chris, all just talking about what's going on with CWS, kind of ripping you off. I saw your show and I'm ripping off your show is basically what it is. So just, and it's right after your show, so you could end yours on Tuesday and then jump in ours on at 3. So just saying.
Listen,
But
I think but that's just it. I think there's also if I had to have another opportunity, you talked about what are the things in front of you. No, we're going a little long, but I will say that I think that 1 is coalition building, 2 is give as much as you can afford to, right? Give away as much as you can afford to.
Yep.
And that includes copies of your book. That includes what you have learned. That includes the connections you have made. It includes all of those things, because I will tell you that I was very nervous about starting a podcast. Number 1, because I felt like it was just too late.
I
Right.
see that. Yeah.
The podcast train had left and I hadn't started mine. And because I'm a middle-aged white guy, I always wanted to, we all feel like we deserve to be heard,
I'm here.
us middle-aged white guys. But yeah, so and 2, I didn't want to give away secrets, right? Didn't want to give away proprietary knowledge. And man, I wish I had gone so much sooner than I had. I wish I'd gotten past that sooner. And I would still, to this day, if it was today, I would still start that podcast, right? Because it's a platform to give away what you know in order to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You are not just, it's never one-sided. It's never just broadcasting. It's also coming back. So every interview I've done so far, and we were just counting the other day, and we're getting close to 100 of these things. Is, every one of them I have learned something new, and usually something that has been important to the work that I do. So I will say, we do the live show, and we legitimately give away data that people would pay for, right? We're giving away sales data that, I mean, the equivalent of what we do in the book market world, you have to have a license of $10,000 a year to get access to what we're giving away. Right. So, but we do it very specifically because, one, we know that data is the life force of business, right? And we want this business to grow. And two, it gives us authority, right? The reason that Prana is growing as fast as it is, and it is growing faster than any of us is really ready for, is just because we just gave it all away. We just continued to give it away. And so those would be my those are the big opportunities. And I know that they're like not actionable, I think, for some people. They're going to be like, that's what you're getting, make friends and give shit away. Yeah, unfortunately.
It's the way to do it. I give away a book probably of the first year a book is out. I probably give it away like crazy, like nonstop. At that point, I try to pump the brakes and try to start selling it because I have new books out. But that's how you get their attention. Like I've given out I met you and I give you like 4 copies of books.
100%. I've come home with stacks of your books every time I've seen you.
Yeah. I'm just like and I have like 6 copies of Comix and Magazine. So it's like,
yeah,
it works. It works. But it gets you remembered too. Like you want people to remember you, and showing up at these events and giving away your stuff. Like this is how we've become connected. I bugged you every time I saw you, and it's like, oh yeah, this guy. Again, he's around. So it's like, that's good. That's positive. It's what you want.
It's an entire industry of that guy, though, by the way. That's just it. That every single person who has been successful in this industry has been that guy who just keeps showing up. And then he shows up and he pitches, and he shows up and he pitches, and he shows up and he pitches. Then at some point, he gets the job. Right.
As long as you're always learning, just keep learning, keep it growing, take the advice, and build your communities. And that's a perfect way to wrap up this conversation. This hour went by way too fast, so we got to bring you back on again, or maybe we'll just start that show together. We'll do that.
Yeah, when you're ready, you let me know. I'll co-host anything. Let's go.
Adam, do you want to give any shout outs? Let us know where to find you. Anything you want to just announce or keep people on their toes for?
Sure. PRANADM.com. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. The bullet goes out every Friday, and starting in January specifically, we're going to start giving out the weekly sales data that happens in comic shops. We have a network of about just under 500 comic shops that we're getting data from. PRANADM.com. Comic Industry Insiders on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We put out a podcast every Thursday, and then every Wednesday we do the audio version of our Comic Industry Insiders Live, which is out on Tuesdays, also on YouTube. Going through, you should hit the alert button. Just hit the alert button and we'll pop up for you. It'll be on YouTube and Facebook and pretty much as many social platforms as we can get it up on. And then finally, comicsthemagazine.com. That is a monthly magazine starting in March that is going to have interviews with your favorite creators. It's going to have behind the scenes looks at how these books get made. It's going to have how-tos. It's going to have we're working on classified section. I don't know if that's going to work. We might end up with a price guide partner. We're working on that too. Basically, we want we grew up with these magazines that we loved about comics, and we want to like recreate that for a new generation that has not had a magazine in a very long time. So we're putting that out, be out in March. And this Friday, there will be an announcement about issue 1 that is one of the most exciting things I've ever been part of. So wait till you see it.
I'm excited.
It's so exciting.
Awesome.
Those are
Adam,
those are the big ones, but we do a bunch of other stuff. So check out our stuff. And if you need help in the comics industry, come to pranadm.com. Send us an email. We help, like I said, we help with distribution, we help with consulting. We do something called Publisher Boot Camp, where we do we'll do 8 sessions with you over the course of a year or weeks or however long it takes to help grow and level up your business. So we do lots of stuff. We basically want everybody, like I said, 2 things. Comic shops are a resource that deserves being supported and defended, and only the quality of your work should be the gatekeeper of your book.
love that, dude. Thank you so much tonight, Adam. So much stuff I've learned myself, and there's
Good.
so much stuff for people to pick up and just to like really think about and ponder and really investigate as well. It's all fantastic advice, and it's all about community. It's all about that growth, which is why we
100%.
harvest this here. Which is why we do these shows. You know, don't forget to check out Inspired Ink every Monday night, sometimes Sunday, 6:30 EST. Spilled Ink, our live drawing show, every Thursday night, 6:30 to 8:30, and starting, I believe, on I have the wrong dates of the 15th or 16th. It's a Tuesday next week. We're actually launching our new show, The Print Shop, where it's me, Chris, and Dan talking about all the CWS updates and all the cool stuff we're doing, and so many cool things. So you get asked questions. We'll be announcing, or actually launching, our Discord there. I'm announcing it right now, I guess. We'll be launching our Discord on that day as well, which I'm really excited. I actually just finished doing the final rules to everything right now. So I'm really hyped to launch that. And
we're working on one of those. We should have something soon, so we'll see.
Oh, well, we'll go compare notes. We'll help each other.
Yeah, no, please.
But that's it for tonight. Adam, you're the best, dude. Well, I can't wait to see you at a con soon, eventually.
Thank you, Brent. This has been fun. Thank you so much for inviting me, man. And keep doing the work you're doing. You're saving comics, dude. Get out there and keep doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And keep on making comics, guys. So we'll see you guys soon. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for hanging.